podcast. Today is February the 25th, and it's episode number 9, and we're going to be talking about Black identity, or just identity in general in the workplace.
I thought we were doing Black identity.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about, but we ain't going to just talk about Black people.
Well, we only come from one perspective.
Yes, but okay, can y'all not start a debate with me while I'm trying to do my little introduction?
It wasn't a debate.
My name is Lo, or Lauren, however you want to call me.
Anyway.
This one cutting me off is
Shot, per usual. Because we're the only rule is to stay on topic, and no topic is off limits.
She off her game. Well, I'm telling you.
Well, I mean, when I got like 2 people over
Girl,
here.
you missed it already. Go ahead, Cam.
Right.
Introduce yourself to the people.
The arch nemesis of Lo, apparently, as people have been saying, I'm Cam. Nice to meet you again.
I'm a Bell.
No,
no, I'm a Bell.
No AKAs.
I'm a Bell. No AKAs, no nothing.
Yes, man.
Oh, the brains got to move on top of the way.
Okay, so. Okay, y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Being ready.
I just gotta make sure y'all focused
Go.
and centered on this topic. So we're gonna talk about Black identity in the workplace. And to get this started, I'm going to reference an article I found online. This publication came from Harvard Business School. And what I found were 2
This publication came from Harvard Business School, and what I
facts. And one of them being that the U.S. percentage of African American or Black identifying individuals as CEO has remained pretty stagnant and at a surprisingly low number, which is 3.5%. Extremely low.
That is.
And then many employees feel that it's never okay to talk about racial bias in the workspace. And this was whomever they polled. I don't know what was the size of the poll, but 38% of those people. What is so funny?
You don't know what the size of the poll was.
Keep going, Lauren.
Oh my God.
Well, the only
Childish.
rule is to stay on topic.
Anywho, of those folks, there were 38% of them were African American or Black identifying, and a third of that 38% felt like they could not bring their full selves to work. So that's where we're gonna kind of start this conversation.
And
So,
by full self, what do you mean by that?
full self meaning however you identify, do you feel that you could bring that identity into work? And obviously, we don't, like, the way that I talk to you guys is not how I'm going to be talking to, my colleagues. However, I should still feel comfortable in who I am. I shouldn't feel like I have to conform to anything. So I think that's what they mean by bringing their full self to work. So do you guys think that you bring your full self to work or to your, when
To your
you're
place of
handling
business?
Yeah.
Yes.
I do my best, but hell no, I'm not.
I do.
Oh, no, hell no.
Yeah, whoa.
I'm self-employed, so I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm
Self-made.
be myself with myself. And just like I was telling Daniel who was in LA, I'm not going somewhere to either, if I'm networking or anything, I'm not going somewhere acting like something I'm not. If we're going to be able to work together, you have to realize who I am as an individual and what I stand for.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're going to be able to do anything together. And I would hope you would do the same with me.
Do you ever have any feeling or sense of like, because you did address this on the last episode where, and I think actually maybe you brought it up, Roshad, but people, especially if you have your own business, like you discussed the obstacles, and the hurdles that Black business owners, entrepreneurs have to encounter. So like, do you ever get a feeling that you need to conform in any way, Cameron, because of your Blackness?
Absolutely. Sometimes I feel like I have to, but I refrain from doing it because I don't want my business to turn into something I'm not.
That makes sense.
If you're going to mess with me and mess with what I do, I want you to mess with me like wholeheartedly in who I am versus me conforming or assimilating with the rest of how businesses work and then that, okay, this is the professionalism that I'm looking for, so I'm going to go with that. Like, I'm going to conduct myself very professional and be myself in the same light.
Yes. Sorry, let me take a step back too, because I asked if you have to conform like into anything based off, like trying not to whatever, trying to shadow a little bit of your blackness. But how do you identify, like, when you think of yourself, are there any particular
identities
that you carry with you? Like, I identify firstly as a black woman. That's how I identify myself. Obviously there's other things about, yes, protect black Cameron is if you're listening, Cameron is showing his shirt and it says protect black women at all costs.
All costs.
But yeah, that's how I identify, and that's who I bring to work.
Right.
Got you.
What about you?
I would say a black man, African. That's how I identify. Eritrean. Yeah. I think when people ask me a lot of times, like, what are you? I always say, like, I'm Eritrean, because I was born there, so I usually represent that as much as I can. But all in all, in general, I'm always like an African diaspora. I'm black. That's how I identify, black man.
And then you too.
Go ahead.
I identify, like, first, if I like put an order to it, I guess it would be black, man, and then like gay.
Why gay being last?
Because the first two you can see first. So like, because I just going off what people can identify you as first,
right? Without
even having a conversation with you, by just seeing you, that's the first thing people see first. Like, if you don't ever see me before, just like going off my name, you can just probably like, okay, this guy might be black.
Might be black.
Might be black. And then then I come like, then you meet me in person, like, oh, this is a man. And then you keep knowing me, then he's gay. So that's probably why I put it in that order. It's based on other people's perceptions of me first.
And you, Cameron?
For me, I mean, I just identify as a black man. I mean, a black man from the hood, I guess, if we're being specific. I mean, because that's where I'm from, but, I carry myself, you can tell that's where I'm from, but I carry myself to a point where, like, okay, he's evolved to the point where he knows his beginnings, but he's growing past it and out of it. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. But I'm glad you brought up the whole name thing, because I talked to my mom about it, and she said she named me like this, so I won't be judged based off my name.
Wow, that's interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Cameron.
Because I would judge you more.
Why?
Because it's not the normal spelling of the word. Oh, you mean just the name, just hearing it. Right, that is true. But like when I see it on paper, I'm like, oh, now I'm just.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, Cameron, go ahead and spell your name out for the listeners.
Camerin, which I would think is the proper way to spell Cameron, even if it was a C or a K, because it says Cameron, not Cameron.
I thought it was Kamron. Yeah.
See, but that's Cameron if we're speaking in the English language.
Not the English.
Not Cameron.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you think about it, like Cameron, the way I spell it is more Cameron than Cameron.
Cameron.
Not Cameron.
So
you can spell it like that.
Right.
Okay.
And you know what found interesting though?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the only one who had to say.
Yes, I was just about to say that, because none of us would think, like, I need to call that out.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a privilege. That's why we didn't say it.
Yep. That's very interesting. I know. I picked up on that.
Assumed to be heterosexual.
Yeah.
You know what I am, nigga. No, I'm just.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm just playing.
You be coming out of nowhere.
I don't even think he had alcohol today.
Okay, so you identify as black man, African man, Eritrean man, black man from the hood, a black man who is gay, and black woman. Do you guys feel like you're able to bring that identity to work?
Yeah. Yeah, I was start first. Yeah.
You said hell no a second ago. Like when we.
I mean, yeah. This is what I said. This is specifically what I said. I said I try to.
That's what specifically what I said.
Yeah, I'm like, oh.
I try to, but I'm not 100%. Yeah, I don't bring 100%
That
me.
quick.
If that makes sense. Because I don't think you could be. I feel like a lot of times in the workspace, you hit that switch right when. So I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
So as soon as I go on campus, as soon as like I enter that door, there's a switch that I gotta hit. Like there's specific like certain things, especially since I work with kids too. But before, even when I was working at UC Santa Cruz, and I was a counselor there, And coming into work, you just can't be your full self. Like, I can't be my full,
So I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Is that switch flip for the kids or for your employee or your coworkers?
Right, because you're a teacher, that's a whole different layer.
For both. I would say for both a little bit. And for the kids, it's just being appropriate, respectful.
Oh, yeah,
You're
of course.
shaping a lot of their mindset as their teacher. So, of course, that. But for the coworkers, I think there's a certain level of, I wouldn't even say like discrimination, but there's a certain level of, I feel like as a black professional, I feel like you have to do things above and beyond just to kind of level up, if that makes sense. You gotta talk proper, quote unquote.
Well, we're gonna get there.
You're talking about leveling up and talking proper.
Wait, hold on. We're gonna get there, but
that's just a judgment.
my question for you, Abel, is because yes, there's you're a professional when you go into the workspace, right? You're gonna be your professional self.
Yeah.
It's still you, but it's your professional self.
Gotcha.
Imagine you work at a school in some realm, everyone's black.
That can happen.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Oh, you did like a
Shoot,
so far out.
I'm saying all the students, all the teachers, everyone's black.
HBC.
Yeah.
You're a counselor.
Everyone
at
ain't
HBC.
black.
I
There
ain't
could be
been to one.
professors and whoever. But I'm just saying, everyone's black in your workspace. You're still your professional self. Do you feel like you would carry yourself differently in that environment?
Yep, 100%.
So, technically, you're not bringing your full self to work right now because you're not in a...
Yeah, you're right. You're right, absolutely.
Okay.
And in my past work, when I was the counselor at UC Santa Cruz, it was funny because 80% of that, I worked for EOP, Education Opportunity Program, and 80% of the staff were black. And it was so cool because for the first time ever, work was understandable and fun. Like, we'll be at staff meetings speaking our own language. Like, just things that we connect with, people never connected. And it was fun, like, feeling like you go to work knowing, like, oh, I know they understand me. So certain things just like outside of work, things that affect you, they would know. You know what I mean? They will understand you. They will hear you out, and they're like, okay, I see what you're dealing with. So it's all right to take today off, rather than with other coworkers was very logistical. If that makes sense. So things like that I really appreciated. But right now, I feel like I do my best to go to work, like just my values are still there. It's not like I'm changing the person that I am, but definitely certain things that I just can't talk about with my coworkers. Those that are not black, at least. Yeah.
Roshad, do you think you're able to bring your full self to work?
I don't think I'm able to bring my entire full self to work.
Put a percent on it, what would it be?
The longer I'm there, the more I bring because I've worked on my job for 5 years now. So the longer I'm there, I'm like, eventually you're going to get more of who I am. So if I had to put a percentage on it, it's like a cool high 80s-ish, I would say. It's only because like as I think about it, it's like I'm aware. You got to be observant of like who I am and my surroundings. I think I should be like in the space I work for like an educational nonprofit because each industry is a little different and how you can feel more comfortable in it. And nonprofits usually are more like better along in the spectrum for minorities and marginalized groups of people. So like even like when I think about it, like how I gotta make sure like being a black male and like talking to like women, especially like white women, like am I being too aggressive? Like would I scare them? That's like one thing I think about.
That's crazy that we got to think about that.
I think about stuff like that. I also think about like me being like gay and how like that can be off-putting for some people. I don't think I deal with that too much, but it's like something I am aware of. Or even my age sometimes. When I think about like me being like a young professional and I gotta walk into like a lot of meetings because I'm like one of like associate director or whatever. So I walk into a meeting and like some people be like off-putting. Like if I walk in, like I don't know what they are off-put by. But I think sometimes they ask me like, "Oh, how old are you?" or things like that, which could be inappropriate. But it is something I think about when they could be expecting someone else via email. So it's a lot that like goes through my head, like being black, gay, young.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all that stuff that are at play and who are a part of my identities that I constantly think about. But my job has done a lot of progressive things, like have affinity groups and things like that,
That's
like
nice.
where people of the same race are able to come together and talk about various things. And you can see when people go into those type of environments, it's like a sigh of relief,
Yeah.
as I would say, because we are able to like speak more freely in those environments and do what we want to do, and just talk about the things that are happening in the workplace that like oh my god, I'm like so tired of this. Because I always say, I think black people need more PTO. I'm like, there's a whole bunch of stress that goes on in here that like only pertains to us.
Yeah.
That I'm like, we need 2 or 3 extra days, because sometimes you need to go home or like leave in the middle of the day because someone has said something that has been like a microaggression or an aggression that you having a hard time dealing with, and there's no one for you to like talk to or reach out to and things like that. So sometimes you just like need that air. It's just too much.
I just need to work from home today.
Right, I need to work from home or not work at all because I don't even want to see your emails.
Oh, do you think HRs handle those appropriately most times?
I think in my opinion, it depends on the HR. But you also, people need to remember what HR is there for.
Yeah.
HR is there to protect the company. Because you are a resource to the company, so they're trying to make sure like their resources is okay. And their biggest resource is the company.
Right.
So it's hard to like finesse that situation. So that's why some organizations have like diversity, equity, and inclusive like departments in there who are like they work with HR but kind of separate. So you are able to like talk to them instead of HR, because because HR has laws and protocol to follow.
Right.
Like, this person said this to me. Oh, we gotta call legal and we gotta call 911.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I don't want to.
It ain't all that.
Yeah, I don't.
Not
It's
that
not all
deep.
that, or
It's not-
it might be, but I don't want to deal with all that. That's a lot of extra
Exactly.
baggage. People gonna look at me differently. They might invite me to more meetings or things like that.
Yep.
So it's also good to talk about those diversity, equity, and inclusive company cultures and behaviors, like what certain departments who have degrees in that particular realm.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like a lot of a growth spurt in those type of roles available in like tech industries, like as my educational nonprofit has one now. So, and it's just like a growing trend right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully it continues.
Yeah. I would
was
say that.
long-winded, but
No, I mean, very good points. But I would say that I probably, if I was thinking of a percentage of myself that I bring to work,
I never thought about it.
I would probably say I bring about 65-70% of myself.
And what industry do you work in for people to know?
Tech.
Which is very different from my educational nonprofit.
But what I would say is, I think my workplace, at least like, where I specifically work, not the entire company, but I would say it's pretty inclusive. But a lot of the reasons why I don't bring my full 100% self to work is probably like things you already addressed, Roshad, like where you kind of, it's sad, but kind of self-sabotage a little bit. And, like all these questions are in your head about, okay, well, like, do I need to compensate for whatever biases exist, in this place? Because you don't see, tons of black CEOs, or you don't see, a lot of people that look like you walking around. And so, like, Abel, when I asked you, like, if the entire school was black, or you were talking about your experience as a counselor, it is very different. Like, when I'm sitting down talking, to people who look like me or that have similar identity to me, it's like this wave of relaxation.
A relief.
Like, oh gosh, I don't even have to think about my identity right now.
I
I could just talk about what, I'm
or how you
working on,
perceive me.
Yeah, like I don't have to think about that at all. But yeah, I'm younger, I'm black, I'm a woman. Like, there's all these different things where it's like it plays with your mind, and like, I can't even articulate myself. I'm like, dang, I know how to speak. But all of a sudden, I don't know how to speak because my mind is playing all of these like games. And so I would say I probably bring about
I feel like
65-70%.
black women have another layer that they have to deal with as well.
The woman and the black.
Yeah, like black women are perceived to be very aggressive. And like I gotta do everything for myself. I don't need you, and like people put attitude on them before they even see how they act. You know what I'm saying? So that's another layer that y'all have to deal with.
Like, why she mean? Why she don't smile? I'm
Right.
like, she over there working. Leave her alone.
Like,
ain't nobody talking
if somebody
about you.
else of a different race was to do the same thing that y'all did, it would be looked at completely differently. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy that y'all have to deal with that again. Like, it's unnecessary.
Yes.
Like, and it makes employers don't see it as much, but like coworkers don't realize how uncomfortable they make their black female coworkers feel just by their mannerisms.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's ridiculous that has to be, said, or acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, that's definitely one thing that I always think about is like, because like to get ahead in a lot of these companies, because they are male dominated, and this is the same for all women, like you have to be a little more aggressive,
but not too aggressive.
But not too aggressive. Yeah. And
until
then
they
so
call
like
you a bitch or
a
anything
bitch,
like that.
yeah, you have to think about, okay, well, what sort of backlash am I going to get for speaking up?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, you threw me off with your face.
Well, because I went like this and then he did it and I was like, what?
But yeah, that always comes to mind is like this whole angry black woman. Like I remember I was in the 7th or 8th grade, and I had a teacher, white dude. I didn't like him anyways. He had a nasty attitude. It was a class that I should have never been in anyways. But I could tell he just thought less of, or like less, he thought black people were less than. I could just tell. And so I was in the class once, and I don't even remember what the issue was, but he was being nasty towards me. And so I was like, you know what, I'm not going to tolerate this. And whatever I said back. And he's like, don't get sassy with me, girlfriend, or something, like rolled his neck.
Oh, wow.
And that immediately ticked me off. I'm like, nope. I was like, you know how I do. I'm like, first of all, But anyways, he ended up sending me to the principal's office. Principal's black dude. I explained to him what happened, the whole neck roll, how he approached me and everything. I did not get in any trouble. But it's like, for a lot of black people, if you
don't have that
you
black
don't
principal,
have, you could like, and they wouldn't even relate to why something like that would upset you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And so things like that, like where people just perceive, I'm like, I don't roll my neck when I talk. Yeah, didn't nobody do all that.
You kind of do.
Okay, maybe I do if I really I'm more of a hand person. Like I like to use my hands when I talk. But it was just like, why are you putting that on me? You're, whatever your perception of black women is, you're just like amplifying my behavior into that. And it's like, those are things that I think about.
The way you act makes me act the way you think of me.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, that just was...
The way you
my brain just exploded.
The way the teacher acts makes you act the way the teacher already thinks about you. You know what I'm saying?
I got you, but I didn't act that way.
Right, no, I'm
he
just saying.
wanted
like,
me
in
to.
that instance, you didn't. But in general, like, when people force this prerogative on you, you end up acting that way just to protect yourself. And then it only strengthens how they already feel. Yes. So it's a lose-lose.
It is. It is.
So what would you say the culture is like in your workplace?
Mine, I think we have our culture is a constant thing that we work to improve for every group or identity that works there. So we try to make sure everyone feels inclusive and included in everything that we do. But I still think it's still a work in progress for us and for everybody and for all companies, like all companies. And we are far along and ahead of the game, but we are in the Bay Area. Yeah. We are an educational nonprofit. So, and we work try to advance education opportunities for all children. So we are more aware or more woke, as people will say, than a lot of other groups of people who don't constantly have to think about that on a day-to-day basis. It's something that we have to constantly think about, and we're still improving as well. So I would say there is still more work for us to do, because we just took a culture survey in our office, and you can like aggregate it and dissect it based on like people's different identities and things like that. And a trend that came out is that the black people feel that they are, most discriminated against, most biased against, don't receive promotions that a lot of other people on the spectrum. The black people is like far down the line than like the whites, the Asians, and the Latinos. So it's something that we got to constantly work at, because it could be a general question like, how do you feel your company is doing on diversity initiatives? You know, white people say like, oh, I feel like it's 80, 90%, and the black people like, oh, it's 10%. It's like, and it's and we're all sitting in the same meetings, interacting with the same people. So the question is like, how, if our opinions and views are like so vastly different.
Yeah.
Because they're ignorant to how certain stuff makes you feel because they don't sit in that same chair.
Right, and that's exactly what it is. Because like we're like, oh, we do have a diversity statement, but like we ain't doing nothing about it. And for a white person, it could be like, oh, this is like
We have one.
Word, this is like great.
No.
So it is like some work for us to do. But I think as we keep working about it, and you know, because we talk about it, we have surveys. Like some companies don't even do things like that.
I've never heard of a cultural survey.
Yeah, we do I think once or twice a year. So we can like track our progress, and it's like, are black people, do you feel like black people get promotions the same way as everybody else do? And then black people say no, white people say yes. Then with us black people, we count like one person got promotion and 3 white people did. How could we see? Like, it's just some stuff like where we don't see, like, how could you actually thought? But that is something like we do strive for.
Gotcha.
Abel, do you feel like working, you know, like since you work with children directly too, do you feel like you personally have, you know, like a responsibility or an obligation to kind of foster, you know, the environment that you think is necessary for these children to thrive? Or what is the current state of the culture at, you know, where you're working?
Yeah, definitely. I think I also work in Oakland, so the demographic for the most part is pretty diverse. But within that too, I think I see a little bit of the programming that's being done with the kids a little bit. Just like little kids, just like even just hair, for example. There's a couple of black kids in my class, and just kids, whenever they switch up their style of hair, kids want to touch it and stuff like that. So just little things like, did you ask him like before you touch his hair?
People hair.
Like, no, they're innocent though. They're like, no, they're looking at you like, why do I have to ask? That's my friend.
It's like us walking up to a white
But
person.
it's just-
Ooh, can I touch your lips? They hella small.
Oh.
Like,
Oh, Cameron.
I'm just saying, like, to help people realize how that feels for us. You know what I'm saying? Because when I have my hair in a fro, you're like, ooh, they won't even ask. They'll just start No, this is my personal space. Don't come up in here and just think you could do whatever you want.
That's real.
Because if I did it to you, you call
I was
the
gonna say
cops.
our hair will be a whole
Yeah,
other discussion.
that's the next
So I just wanna
topic.
make sure
There, it will be a topic for another day.
Yeah, so
And we'll
just
get into it.
Little things like that, the things that I see could be corrected at an early age, I'll
Yeah.
point it out. Also giving space for the black kids to express themselves fully. Like, I remember just like a black male, like a little kid was crying. And just letting him cry, like when he was crying, we just like, okay, he's crying. After he's cried, we talk about what's going on. Things like that. That I
Breaking
feel,
down masculinity.
yeah. So
that's
things
really
that I feel
important.
like I need, or I feel like should be corrected, I'll definitely point out. But it's not like I treat them any better than the other students. But I'm more of I understand little things, so I would just kind of point it out when I see it for sure. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just like programming and just the institutions themselves. Like, I never thought higher education was that political until I started working for higher education last year. Like, I thought universities just ran their, you know, their usual policies, but it's a lot that black staff, and I developed an appreciation for like black counselors, black professors, just anybody black that works in higher education, because it's not set up for black people. Education system itself. So you go to this place that's not set up for you, and you survive, and people really look out for each other. So it's
crazy that you gotta go to a higher education system and say you have to survive versus being able to thrive.
literally, bro. It's literally you
That's
go
like
to
the
a
black
system,
life in general. We survive through
Yeah,
everything.
That's literally it. You go to a university that's, I'm talking about like 60+%, you know, just white dominant, and you going trying to find your 2%,
or Asian.
2% BSU community, you know what I mean? And really, that's really, for a lot of black students, that's the story. Like, black students sustain each other, if that makes sense. And black staff too. So, but I think it's just like going to the industry that you work. First, you want to identify as an individual and not as an activist. at least for me. Like, I don't try to go to work and try to correct everything.
Yeah.
Because then that's the first way you're going to be hated right away.
Yeah.
But if I do see problematic stuff, I will point it out. But I don't try to be, you know, I don't know, like the black activists in workspaces too a lot of time. But I would speak my truth though. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel that, and I feel like I'm going to get some mixed reactions from you guys here, but do you feel, or do you have the perception that everyone else who maybe identifies with a different, ethnic background, do you feel like they actually do bring their full selves to work?
It depends on, to me, their identity. So if we're just speaking on race only right now, I think it's like a spectrum.
Yeah.
I think like, I feel as though
From dark to light.
pretty much. I feel like the
much,
white people
yeah.
bring more of themselves to work than the Asians, than the Latinx, than the blacks.
Yeah.
It was just like ranking the 4 major groups
absolutely.
in America.
Yeah, I probably more so like what's the makeup of this workplace. So like I said before, if it's a whole bunch of black people, you can bring your full self, you know, and that 2 or 3 white people, maybe they do bring their full self, maybe they don't. You know what I mean?
No,
but if it's you know what I mean, if the workspace is dominated by a certain group, they're, I feel, going to feel more empowered. They're going to feel included, and so that they'll be able to open up and be themselves.
Absolutely.
I guess, but like if we talk about like how many organizations exist.
Oh, I know.
I was like,
Just like on average.
well, really 6 white people in these dominant black organizations.
And I feel like, not to say too, like every white person's out here going to work being themselves 100%.
Right.
Yeah,
They have other identities as
limits,
well.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
to be your individual freedom, but there's for sure stuff they don't have to think about dealing with for sure before they even step to work.
And there's certain.
Sometimes you're mistaken you work there. Like, real talk. You're mistaken you work where you work. Sometimes. Just walking up to work. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like.
No.
I shook my head, but I didn't understand what you said.
Like
you a mistake going into work?
Yeah, like I'm young.
Like, you
I'm
supposed to
pretty
work
young.
there?
I'm pretty young. I've been mistaken like 2 or 3 times already going to my class this year.
Oh!
You know what I'm saying?
I thought you was like a must. I'm like, what happened?
And it's also like, if you just dressing casually, like I don't go to work like with ripped jeans and stuff, obviously, because I'm working with kids and it's inappropriate. But I dress.
Oh, cause you look young.
Not the average teacher would dress. You know what I mean? So
you know that
sometimes
black don't
you're
crack.
yeah, sometimes you're like, who?
Look like you
You
17.
picking up your little brother at this school? Like, nah, like, I'm his teacher.
Ow.
But I think as far as like racial identity goes, probably more people bring that aspect of them. Not that they're talking about it or anything like that, but they feel like, okay, I mean, that's not a barrier for them.
What?
Or
the race?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because like there are some races where there are preconceived notions about them, but they're actually positive. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he must be really smart, or she must be really this and that. You know.
Gotcha.
Oh, like the Asian stereotypes and stuff like that.
Our stereotypes are often very negative.
In the workplace.
Yes, lazy, not as smart as, you know.
Not professional, just in general. You're not professional. Yeah.
And that's the other thing is
Defensive.
like, that is, I said I bring usually like 65-70% of myself to work, but I dress very casual at work. Everyone dresses casual.
You're taking it straight.
But I wear stuff like this, and I think about it because I'm like, I am super casual, and obviously there are other things people could be attributing to me, but I'm going to wear my sneakers, and I'm going to wear my cargo pants, or whatever, my t-shirt, my big oversized tees, like I'm going to wear it because I feel comfortable in that, and that's how I often express my identity, as well as like the clothes that I wear. But then I do think about like, do people think of me in
less because of how you come to work?
Yeah, because
Right.
because I don't see anyone else dress the way I do.
Also, you saying you're the most casual person.
I wouldn't say I'm the most casual.
Oh.
You know, people wear hoodies or like whatever, little graphic T-shirts and stuff like that. But everyone ain't walking around in Air Forces or. But
The
I mean,
all black ones?
No.
Okay, good.
I
can't trust.
Well, I
you.
will say black people do dress better than other people.
Okay, that's another topic. But
yeah, I think your attire is important.
Yeah,
The way you,
sure.
it's the first.
There
one
are
of the first-
certain meetings I'll go to, like if I or like there's certain days where I'll be like, okay, I'll wear a nice sweater today.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna wear my hoodie.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. Like if I have an audit, I dress up.
Yeah.
And people know. You're like, oh, you must have an audit today. Even like my whole office know. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, shit, that goes for the creative world as well. Like, if I'm just doing a random shoot or whatever, I'll dress whatever I want to. I dress for functionality and comfort. So I'll wear sweats and a hoodie or whatever. But if I'm going to shoot a wedding, I'm wearing black jeans, my black shirt with my name on it and my business on the back, and so forth. You know what I'm saying?
I like your cell phone.
So there's definitely times where you do have to dress up for whatever you're doing, regardless of what you do.
Right.
Right.
Cameron, I have a question. Would you talk about the folks that you typically work with? So, do you think there's any barriers for you, in your photography, like to, gaining exposure because of your blackness, and like, what type of people do you work with? Do you work with people of all races?
So I try to, but I get booked mainly by black people, and I'm not complaining about that at all, but I would like to tap into a different demographic. And what's crazy is I didn't notice it until I was talking to this chick, and she was looking at my Instagram, and she was like, oh, do you only take pictures of black people? I was like, oh, wow. I guess you could say yes, but that's only because I haven't been booked by, anybody else. Whether that's a big corporation or a white person that just wants to do a shoot, or an Asian person or a Mexican person. But at this point, I've been able to kind of tap into that. So I've had shoots with other races as well. But it's definitely difficult to get those, especially starting off. Because if you're doing it off social media, your following or who you follow is mainly who you identify with. So
that's true.
Tapping into that, is really hard. So then I started to follow other people that I don't typically see myself identifying with, and then them following back opened up doors that I didn't have open before. So just trying to like step out of the norm to create more opportunities for myself.
Sorry, between the two of us.
And don't be counting my leave my alone. They ain't getting to nobody.
Yeah, I was about 3 right there.
And so that's a good kind of segue into my next question, which is, do you feel like your work is equally recognized?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And I mean, that was immediate response.
Yeah,
So
because in the art world, it's very subjective, but then it's also like we can universally say that this is terrible. You know what I'm saying? Like some stuff you can just look at and be like, this is ridiculous. So like I feel like one of my strongest pieces was my label series, and it was very well recognized. But I feel like if it came from a different person, it would have went further than it did. You know
A person of different race.
Yes.
Based on the labels that were chosen, if a white person would have did it, it would have been a different.
It would have been looked at differently.
Right.
So
I don't know if I would have.
So for those who don't know, I did a label series. It was 3 photos of a Mexican with immigrant all over her face, a black guy with nigga all over his face, and a black woman with bitch all over her face. And it was basically to say that this world labels us before they even get to know us. So the first thing you see is a label. And it did pretty well, like I got a...
You got some traction.
Yeah, I did get a little traction. A few hundred retweets, a couple hundred likes, and then I did an art show at my school and got honorary mention in the spring show, which is 3,000 applicants and they only accept 500. And then they do a top 4, and I got 4th, so it did pretty well.
That's what's up.
But I feel like if it came from someone else, it would have went way further. And I could be wrong, but that's just how I feel.
you're entitled to your feelings. Yeah. So, Abel, I'll ask you the same question. Do you feel like your achievements or the work that you put in is equally recognized amongst your peers?
That's a tough question. I think I'm gonna just recall from my past experiences. I think being young, I've only had 2 real jobs I'm not gonna lie. I graduated college 2 years ago, so I'm new to the workforce. Thank you. But I would say I think being young, being my age and being a black dude, sometimes it could be looked at sometimes you're more lenient with your job. At least in my past job, I'm not gonna mention names, but I remember my supervisor at the end of the year, we had like this presentation on the program we were coordinating. So the program that I was coordinating was like men of color. So I work with black identified males, and brown identified males, and help them navigate the higher education basically. So at the end it was like, what did you do with this program throughout your whole year? And I gave a presentation to the whole staff, whatever. And my supervisor, or the person that ran EOP, was like, you did a lot this year. Like, I'm surprised you did a lot this year. It could be wording too, but in my mind I was like, you hired me, why would you be surprised I did a lot like that? Isn't that what y'all hired me for? But it's just like, that's your expectation of me, but my expectation is different. So I try not to like have somebody validate me, because I don't need it. But of course I feel it sometimes. Like, I'm not taken serious sometimes. I feel it, and I try to use that to my advantage. But that's just, it's like saying, can I change racism? I can't. It's kind of like people's problem how they look at us. So I can't change it, but what I could do is control what I could control. And it's like how I'm putting my like professionalism out there, how hard I work, am I accomplishing my goals and stuff like that. So sometimes it's not recognized. I would say that for sure, because of their own fault, how they perceive you. But sometimes it is too. Sometimes it's like, you're doing a very good job. Like, you're doing this, and that. So for the most part, though, I felt like no. I would say that.
I think, for me personally, I think that the work that I put forward is acknowledged. I don't think that it's not being, like, for the most part, I don't think it's not being acknowledged, or like there's anything dealing with, my ethnic background that is preventing me from, getting X amount of steps ahead. In that regard, like, I don't think people are lowballing me, for lack of better words. And I try not to think that way, because then it starts to kind of become like a self-fulfilled prophecy. Because it's like, you're thinking that way, and then it might make you act a certain way, and then you may not get that promo, or you may not get whatever, and then it's like, oh yeah, I knew it, But at the same,
it could be true though.
It could be true, but what it does, obsessing over that, how does that help me?
It doesn't.
What I will say is, like, I bust my ass, and so, like, you have no choice but to see it. You know what I mean? And I learned at a very young age, and I think most black people, brown people too, learn this at a young age. It's like, you have to work twice as hard. And so exactly, or half of, so I'm always working twice as hard, and so whether or not that is healthy, that's another discussion. But I do think, in my workplace at least, that I am acknowledged. But I don't really check in on what other people are doing either. I'm kind of focused on what I got going on. Yeah.
I feel like I'm acknowledged for the work that I do. And as y'all know, I had a variety of different, as you call, promos. Promotions over my 5 years at my job. So I think the hard work I put in, because I be working.
Too much sometimes.
I work, child. But so I think like the work I do, even like from like my managers, my boss, I have, received accolades, and they have like told me, and it has been recognized. So I think that's good. I feel like being our education nonprofit space, that all the work that all my people do is hard work, and they all work a lot. But I put in my time.
Yeah.
And, I'm tired, but I put in my time.
Okay, so we've been talking about this, identity, black identity in the workspace, and referencing the publication I mentioned earlier from Harvard Business School. I'm just going to hijack Shad's facts, and these are Lowe's facts.
Oh, checking my facts.
And these aren't necessarily
facts.
Let them be. Listen up. So these aren't necessarily facts, but according to this publication, there are 6 things that or steps that can be taken in order to foster this a more inclusive workplace. So step 1 is encouraging employees to talk about race.
Yes.
And racial bias.
That's the hard part.
Yes, it's extremely hard. Step 2 is to help white colleagues contribute to the race conversation.
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily
keep going.
agree, but
We can debate these at another time. I didn't say I agree with all these, but this is just what they said. Step 3 is to tackle systemic inequality, starting with the corporate culture.
yes.
Step 4 is to keep confronting racial bias in the hiring process. And step 5 is to support employees so that they feel they can be themselves. Lastly, step 6 is being mindful of the racial biases that exist when considering promotion and you know, productivity, etc.
Like me bias.
So yeah, I personally feel like, you know, I try to do a good job of like creating a more inclusive environment for everyone in my workplace. I can try harder, you know, and I think we all should. Like, it's a continual process. Yeah, it's not something that ever stops. We should always identify the differences that exist and try to help other people, you know, overcome them.
Because I'm the first one to raise my hand if I feel like something is biased, racist, or unfair. I try to, you know, be on promotion teams at my work to hire, you know, different races of people, even black people in my organization. I've personally hired 2 other black people on my team. So I'm working at it. It's a lot of work and it's very tiring, but I think we all can try to contribute, you know. Because we're already tired of work, so it's asking a lot for black people to always be at the forefront of these things. But, you know, it's still like more work we can do.
Okay, wow.
Another heavy topic today.
So follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube at Next Topic Podcast. You can follow me at Cool Keys, COOLKEYES, and that is on Instagram only.
You can follow Shad on Instagram and Twitter at Shads_space SHADS_SSPACE.
It's just one
S
S in
it
space.
is. I know. I can't. Too many S's.
You can follow me on everything at Clicks by Cam, KLICKSBYKAM.
And you can follow me at Abby Russ on Instagram, so ABIIRUSS, Abby Russ.
Feel free to leave comments on YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff.
Right.
Add us
Hit
on
that
Twitter.
subscribe button.
Subscribe, yes. Follow, share, like.
Retweet, like.
Let us know your thoughts and opinion on this topic. Suggest future topics for us if there's something you want to hear us talk about. And we will see you next week. Oh, and we'll talk to you next week, too, because some of you won't see us.
Yes. Toodaloo.
And
Energy.
action.
Welcome